Today I'm going to talk to you about the modifications that I made to my Catch 120. I'd done one before showing you the modifications on my wife's, which is what mine used to be, until I made these latest changes to the trolling motor and so forth. And so that's what I'm going to be going over now. Well, the most significant changes I made have been to the trolling motor. Show you what I've done here. I've got the trolling motor mounted back here on this device, and so I put in a piece of wood that I mounted to the top of the back of my kayak, but I did it in such a way that I still have access to my compartment I had there. So you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 holes on each side. Underneath I actually have a piece of 2x4 that I went through, so when these things are going in, I've got a nice substantial amount of hold on the base, and so there's not really a whole lot of pressure in one spot. And then I've put 2 pieces of wood here. You can see I kind of had the piece go out, and then I have the 2 pieces of 2x4 that I screwed in, and that's what it's mounted to. And then what you see at the top here, I've got the electrical work that's going back underneath into this box, which is my control mechanism. And so that's what here, the trolling motor running back there. Turn it off. And then I have my battery right here in the center. It's bungee cord, and so what I used is a just a 4-way trailer, hitch. So there's 4 wires that come out of the back of this that control the box. The switch that was in the head of the unit is now in here, and then I took this and cut this down. This is actually from the handle. I just cut it and glued it together. Put this in an electrical box, with a ram mount into a Scotty mount, so I can get control, can adjust that thing. I had it closer, realized I needed to move it out of the way because it was hitting my leg with it. It just worked a whole lot better. So essentially the switch that's inside of here is the switch that was in the head. There's lots of videos out there that tell you how to take those things apart, so it's pretty straightforward. I did not cut mine down as some people done. I just left it up, and for multiple reasons. I wanted to have a little leverage for pulling the unit back out of the water. So I've got this connection right here that wraps around to be able to unlock it, to pull it up. Then I use this rope to be able to physically do it. This is a C-clamp bolt. That's, I think they call it a pipe hanging bolt. That's got the threaded. I've been having an issue with it bending, and so I'm actually gonna put in a larger one. I recommend the 3/8. This is the 1/4. It's just not as strong. And so then I have essentially bungee cords here that I've zip tied down, and so if I turn the unit, it'll spring back to standard. And the same thing there. Turn it, and it'll spring back straight. So it kind of sets the thing, keeps it straight. The other thing it does is that when I pull it up, it keeps the motor from turning around because the weighted end is on this end. It wants to go back. So I use this big eye bolt here to run the wires through. A couple reasons I did that is in order to get a full 180 degree turn, excuse me, a 90 degree turn on each direction, you need to be able to have that thing in the center. Otherwise, it's only going to pull this much if you ran it directly into this eyelet that you're running down that side. So I put one through the center. I also ran my locking piece through the center. So if I come back over here and show you this, I just have, this isn't really doing anything, it's just strapped on here. And the idea is that it allows me, I can turn around in my seat quite easily, and I can unlock it. You see that it's unlocked the unit back there. I don't have a second hand to pull this up right away, but if I hold that with my left hand, unlocked it, and then pull this back, I can get the unit to raise up. And the only reason I need to do that is that when I'm in a situation where I've got, low water, I need to be able to get this up. I also think I might have that lower than needs to be. It's at the height that I used to have it when it was set on my other unit, but I think it's sinking a little lower, or maybe even this piece of wood is a little lower mounted than the last one, and so it's just too low, so I probably can raise it back up. I don't need as much clearance as I've got it set up on right now. So the steering, notice I swapped the steering cables around. I got them crisscrossed. I did that intentionally because of the way you control the left and the right steering column. I found it to be a whole lot easier to control it. Yeah, I had that thing jammed up. That's why it was so hard to turn. I found it a whole lot easier when I pushed my right foot forward, I want to turn right. Push my left foot forward, I want to turn left. And unless you crisscross them, it doesn't do that. And so it was just kind of annoying to me. And so those wires, and you can see I'm just using paracord here. That paracord is going from the back. You can see me shaking it there. It comes up right to here to this foot pedal. So I've got essentially a sliding foot pedal, and as I turn this, you can see it going back. See, it snaps back in place every time I do that, as long as you got enough tension, done correctly. And same thing on this other side. If I push on it, and you can see it push on it, same thing is happening. It snaps right back. And then I've got these set up this way because at first it was stretching on me. I couldn't figure out exactly what length, and so I just kind of put an easy loop here that I could untie and retie if it stretches, and then I can also adjust these to get them to the same, to where I want both my left and right foot to be the same as I push forward. And that way I can get it to be at a comfortable length. I have it going sliding back this way because before I was having it to where it was coming all the way up here. I can see now that I've got it more, the adjustments in a much better place. That's coming up to there. I've got a little more room for it to come up here on my catch. And so what I did is I just took the standard ones, that the foot pedal attachment that was on this. Unfortunately they riveted them in, so I had to drill the rivets out, and then I put in a screw attachment. And you can see there's a screw head right in there. That big screw head didn't quite fit, so I used I routed out the very top of it. That's not, routing is not the right word that is, but I routed out that little top piece. In fact, I'll just get the piece that I used because I can't seem to recall the name of it right now. It was this head right here. So that allowed me to be able to groove out the plastic and not hurt it. I had to make sure that I had the head in there recessed enough that the tracking would move smoothly on both sides. So I did the similar thing on this back side, although you can't see it because it's covered up by another screw. And then I have another screw head that fit into the threaded part of this that I ran my wire through. I wanted to keep this nice and low, so it's a short screw to where it doesn't go through the back side here. So you can see on this side it doesn't go through the back side, but it'll still hold it, and I can loop it through, and so it just sits there and my leg isn't catching on it because it's nice and low. Fairly good. And that, of course, that other screw is back here in the plastic. That's why you can't see it. So I filled up the old holes with with goop, and then put in new ones just with screws. Is the same way that these are done, and these are done, where you can take them back out. And that works really well. So the holes weren't perfect as far as alignment, so I used the front hole. The hole itself is about here. I shifted it back a little bit so that it wasn't going into that last hole, and I could just fill it up with goop. Slid it back. It still covered the old holes. You couldn't see it. It's just it worked pretty well. And then I mounted Scotty mount here, which I'll later put a depth gauge here. But this gives me a nice little table to work on. I've got a place here to mount my GoPro. I will be getting a second one that's pointing that way. I'm currently using a GoPro that's on one of those poles that you've seen so much that fits directly into the rod holder perfectly, and that way I can put that in there and and have a nice over the shoulder shot. I'll get a second GoPro for here, and then that'll give me that front shot that I want. I'll do that shortly. And I think those saw my last video. This is the licensing you have to have for state of Florida. So have that there, and then of course I can put a GoPro mount there if I wanted it versus putting it in this place. The other thing I do on the GoPro mounting is, I always struggle with the thing being waterproof. Don't want to spend the money for the more expensive Hero 5 yet, so I've got Hero 4, and I just use a separate external mic, a recording system, and I just put the recordings together. Anyway, enough of that on GoPro. So here's where I keep the battery. When I put my box in there that you can see down here, it fits in here, and this right here just runs over the top of that, so everything stays out of the way. The beauty of the seat here is that there's enough room you can put tackle underneath there, so that's where I keep the tackle, and so it's just easy for me to get to. And then I can turn around, and get my rods, out of the rod holders that I've got put in here. I can also use these rod holders, although one of them has my GoPro in it. But I also could put the GoPro in the other rod holder sticks, since they all are the same size. I got it set up that way. So that's how I did my setup. Hope this guy helps you out, and if you have any questions, please ask me. I'm sure there's a lot of people are wondering how I did some of this. There's not too many videos out there that show you how to put a trolling motor on the back for the Catch 120. There's a lot of other ones. The Catch 120 just hasn't been out that long, and so not too many people are making videos about it. But it's a pretty decent setup. I like it. I tell you, it's so much comfortable to be able to steer with your feet as you're fishing. So yesterday I was able to fish in a heavy wind because I was able to manage, moving, controlling myself, and then casting while I was moving. you know, against the wind. And of course, then when I was with the wind, I just used the pedals as a rudder and just, you know, cruised with the wind and didn't even have to run my motor. Either case, I'm doing it as I'm fishing, so it made it a whole lot nicer. Well, hope you enjoyed what I gave you, and please make any comments or ask me questions.